and welcome to our What's Your Story podcast. I'm Missy Day.
And I am Michelle Hausbeck.
And today we invited a friend of ours who was at the What's Your Story event last month. And his name is Harrison Fakas. There. Harrison Fakas.
Spell that.
Yeah.
It's F as in Frank, A-K-A, S as in Sam.
What is that from?
That's Greek. So I have to be really careful when I spell it because one time I got a Cox bill that was backwards. It was S-A-K-A-F. I went, okay, that's funny. So I got to make sure to write that the right way. So, yeah.
Well, welcome to our podcast.
Welcome.
No, thank you so much for having me, you guys. I really, really appreciate it.
You're welcome. So you were at What's Your Story, your first experience being there. Mm-hmm. So what did you think?
Honestly, it was something I'd never really seen before. So walking into the event, I didn't really know what to expect. And I had a lot of walls up of like, just anything you've never done before. But when I went in there, it was really calming. And it's, the event that you put on, it was in the Ahern hotel. Mm-hmm. And when I walked in, I was like, okay, I don't know what to expect. But everybody there was so warm and welcoming. And everybody's story was so inspiring that it really made me think afterward what the power is of somebody's story. And I think you mentioned to me a little bit after of how people were talking to you about like, I felt a little uncomfortable about the setting or what worries you on your nerves when you're trying to talk about your story. And really what I think podcasts and events like that are showing us is that people are really interested in hearing about everybody's perspective, their story, and you don't need to do anything special about it. You just talk about it honestly. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And once I started seeing that unfolding, I was sitting towards the front. I was like, oh man, my shoulders went down, and I'm sitting there just going, okay, I'm ready to go on this journey with these people telling their stories. And I really, really appreciated the event, and I can't wait to go again. So
awesome.
What would you say your biggest takeaway or a couple takeaways from it were for you?
Just to not be ashamed of your story, not to be afraid to speak about what you are about, who you are, and where you came from. And just kind of starting from the beginning and not worrying about too much else other than, all right, well, this is my name. This is where I'm from. This is what's happened to me. And these are the lessons I've learned along the way. And being honest about what you saw, what you heard, how you felt, and just being genuine about it really opened my eyes to something like, okay, I might have something. I might have something to say. Mm-hmm. And, I could tell you that I get nervous thinking about that, and I would assume it's safe to say everybody feels that way. So the biggest takeaway was to not be ashamed and to be open about where you came from and what your story is, because people might benefit from that. And even if it's one person, that's good enough, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So whose story resonated with you the most?
I'm going to try to think back of what their names were, because I'm trying to think back to...
You can describe it.
Yeah, so there was one story, I think she was from Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
Dina. Her story resonated with me a ton because she described everything that would be coming from an individual that their story ended and someone else was telling that story. And it was like a sad story. Mm-hmm. But there she is at the end of that sad story telling the beginning of her new story, and she's up there to tell it just from her mouth. And it wasn't her brother who was also there, mm-hmm. right? Telling the story of Walt, which is really, really cool. And what was his name? Jeff. Mm-hmm. So Jeff and Dina, yeah, both of them stuck with me. And she was talking for over an hour, I think, about her story. And every minute of it, I was just soaking it in of like from Alaska, moving to another state and getting put somewhere and having to detox and all this stuff. And it's like, that takes some guts to go up there and talk about that. And at least one person hearing it is going to go, either that's me right now, or I'm worried that might be me, mm-hmm. or that was me 10 years ago. And
Yeah.
instantly you get that connection with people
Right.
where you go, oh, I'm not alone. And for myself, we're all living this life, and I'm a business owner, and being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, having your own company, having people relying on you, and just living life, there's a lot of similarities there, but it's easy to think you're all by yourself in this fight.
Yep.
And you're not. The moment you hear someone else's story, you go, wait a minute. You know what I'm talking about? Because we all feel
I'm
like
not
aliens.
crazy.
Right.
Yeah. Sometimes you feel like an alien. You're sitting there going, nobody knows what's happening in my mind right now. But they might. Until
Yeah.
you talk about it, you never know.
That's one of the things I always do use to describe what your story is. Go to this event, listen to the people's stories, and you will feel that you're not alone, that you're not crazy. Because you said you feel like an alien sometimes for whatever it is. We all have crazy thoughts that run through our head, but they're, other people are thinking the same thing
Right.
or have been through similar things.
Yeah.
Especially like you're saying, you own a business. Being an entrepreneur is not easy all the time. There's a lot of moving parts. And I think that's one thing you do feel more, I think, I don't want to ostracize is not the right word, but
Guarded?
yeah, I think it's like you feel like I am a man alone on my island that I've created, and how do I get off of it?
I can completely tell you that that's the case. I mean, for me, it's like I never worked in an office before, and I only one other time had a vehicle at another company where they gave me a company vehicle. So in my mind, I'm like, I got my own vehicle. In my mind, I created my own office. And I'm like, okay, never navigated this before, so I don't know who to talk to. And when you don't know who to talk to, and if you've never had a mentor or never had people outside of your little bubble, and everyone in your bubble doesn't know what's going on,
Right.
you're an alien to them in some
Right.
way. You're like, wow, this must be just specific to me. And honestly, I could tell you that I would forget about the outside world, and that there's like 7 billion people here, that it's impossible that there isn't tons of people going through a similar thing. But you can very easily get sucked into a vacuum in such a weird time like we are in now, where you got access to social media and information and data, and people are communicating nonstop. You actually might get oversaturated with it and forget that it's even what it is.
Right.
That there's groups out there that I'm now a part of for entrepreneurs and business owners, where you can just go, hey, an employee said this to me and I don't know what to do.
Right.
Or, hey, my vehicle just got stolen, I don't know what to do. Or, hey, like $10,000 of material and tools are gone, I don't know what to do. Like, do you have an attorney? Do you have this? Do you have that? And people are like, yeah, dude, this is what happened to me. And you're like, oh, at least it wasn't that bad. Because you might hear stories that are worse, But yeah, really, what's your story is something that has inspired me, and I want to be more of a part of it and see it unfold more. And
So do you see yourself on the stage someday telling your story?
I think I do. I'd really love to. I'm going to take the back seat on not being too confident in like, yeah, I'm ready to go right now. I'm ready to tell everybody everything. But, once you got to work on getting those layers down so you can really get to communicating what your story is, and not saying the wrong thing.
Peeling back the onion.
Yeah, but you got to do it. You just got to start doing it. And in the words of my leadership coach, he says, done beats perfect. So trying to be done with more things, or trying to do more things, to just act more, not think about it too much, is what I'm striving to do. So
Good.
And here's,
Well, Go ahead.
I was just going to say, the beauty about sharing your story is it's your story. It's not right, it's not wrong, it's your story.
right, there's no opinion about it. It's like,
It's your
It is what
story.
it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Well,
Right on.
I met you, I think 2 months ago at Like Minded Lunch. You came in and sat down at my table. And I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, here's somebody that's going places
Yep.
and has it all figured out. And I was just like so impressed by you. And then we've met, and had many conversations on the phone since. But tell us a little bit about your business and how you got started.
yeah. So again, my name's Harrison. I was born in Hawaii, raised in California, and found in Las Vegas. And my company is Electrocode, and you could look at it as Electric ODE for easy spelling. There's only one C in the middle. And we're an electrical company here in town. We mainly focus on residential and home services. And pretty much my background is I graduated high school from Redlands East Valley High School in California. And immediately after graduating, 2 months later, I started in the IBEW, which is the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, and started my electrical apprenticeship there. And it was a 5-year apprenticeship, mainly commercial and industrial work. And all through that, I had a just desire to be the best electrician I could be. But what started me on that path was, if I'm going to do an electrical trade, or if I'm going to be in a trade, somehow I got to either work for NASA or start my own business. And throughout the whole process of going through the apprenticeship, I'd meet guys that I thought were really, really good electricians. And I'd ask them, I go, why aren't you starting your own business? Why don't you go out on your own and do this? And they're like, dude, that's too much work. I want to work for 8 and get 8 and go home. And they had a saying there, it was hide and seek for $1,000 a week. And I'm like, wow, that's not what I want to do. Like, I want to come here and just work my butt off and learn how to become the best tradesman in electrical I could possibly be. And just kind of ask and probe and see what I might be able to do to go out on my own. And everybody I asked, all I heard was fear. You know, like, you got to put your house up and you got to put everything on the line and insurance and all these things. And it just sounded like a bunch of fear. And, you know, I would get scared thinking about it. But I'm like, that's why I did this. I need to go towards whatever is the biggest thing to inspire me to show up every day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, so I turned out, I started in 2011. I turned out of the apprenticeship in 2016. And I was a journeyman electrician for about a year. And then the company I was with sat me at home instead of laying me off to go sign the books. So essentially that meant, we kind of like you. Maybe you can try sitting at home for a little bit and then we'll get a job for you somewhere else. And they had a job in Mammoth that they were kind of dangling the carrot, waiting for it to start so they can have me go out there. And I just got so itchy and tired of waiting that I essentially told my wife, I go, why don't we just move to Vegas? Because her parents were out here. And we threw everything in a U-Haul 2017 on Valentine's Day and moved my dog, my wife, my cat, and myself out here. And we lived in my in-laws' kitchen for 8 months while I started my company in their garage.
Wow.
So just went door to door, did as much as I could to drum up business. And it's all been word of mouth up until maybe 4 months ago. Mm-hmm. So we've been in business 5.5 years and all of it's been really word of mouth. And I'm just starting to try to get out there and understand, because I'm going to focus on home services and residential, a lot of that is marketing. A lot of that is your brand. So all that stuff, we're propping ourselves up to make that reality coming up here soon. So lighting, switching, devices, ceiling fans, electrical panels, service work, anything in the home, we'll touch it, we'll play with it. You know, our tagline is wiring people for success, and we want to put you in the house of tomorrow today. So
Oh, I like that. Can you say that again?
So it's wiring people for success, and we want to get you in the house of tomorrow today.
So that also means you do smart home conversion.
Yeah, so we do dabble in more of the high voltage side when it comes to automations and things like that. We will get into some low voltage here and there, but I'm a big proponent of smart electrical panels, energy monitoring, you know, smart switches and lighting controls and things like that. Everything's going wireless. Everything's going wireless and Bluetooth and Wi-Fi enabled, and it's all on our phones now. And I'm just really excited because the electrification movement, I think, is starting. And it's kind of been here for a while, but it just seems more defined. And that's just going to keep getting more and more prominent for everybody. So I'm excited to be at the front end of that.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants any of those things, how do they get a hold of you?
So they can go to our website. Our website is electricodellc.com. And that's electricodellc.com. And our phone number is 702-260-4001. And we'll be able to wire you up for success any day.
That's so awesome. I'm so glad that we met, that you came to the Like-Minded Lunch. And being what I do, business coach, anytime I'm at a luncheon and somebody like whips out their notebook and starts taking notes, I'm like, okay.
You're serious.
Yeah, whoever that is, I like that person. So I wish you the best of success here in Vegas, and I know you're going to do great things. And I can't wait to see you on the Watch Your Story stage.
Yeah, I'm excited.
It's going to happen.
Send me the invite. I'll start trying to write things down and memorize something, and then I'll throw it all out and go up on stage. You know?
Yeah.
No, you just
That's kinda
shared
what happens.
a piece right now.
I know, right? Yeah, right on. Well, thank you guys so much for having me. I
Thank
appreciate
you for
it.
coming, and thank you for joining us today on our podcast. And that's a wrap.